sports. As you can see from the thumbnail, Luka Doncic, the Dallas Mavericks is the topic of discussion. I want to give a breakdown and talk about some of the things I talked about earlier, because I've probably done maybe 4 videos on Luka Doncic specifically, with a concentration on the Dallas Mavericks as a whole and what I see from them this year and how it's not that much different from last year. And in those videos, I had a lot of comments from a lot of Luka Doncic fans, a lot of Dallas Mavericks fans, telling me it's different this year and the offense is rated number 2 and they're scoring a lot of points and they're making a lot of shots and Luka is driving his team and nothing needs to change. And the only thing that's wrong with this team is the roster. Like, I heard it all. You can go back and look at those videos and look in the comment section. I've heard it all. And I answered most of those questions and trying to describe to people, what you see is not always the real deal. Is always some things below the surface that some people with a trained eye can see, and then some people just can't see it. Like, some people will look at the offensive rating and see that it's ranked number 2, but all that means is they're scoring a lot of points. And in order for them to score a lot of points, they play a style where they're going to score a lot of points because they shoot a lot of threes. They're trying to pick their pace up this year, so they're probably going to have a little bit more possessions this year. So the points are out there to be had, but the issue is not how many points they score. The issue is can they stop the other team from scoring, and how predictable their offense is. How dangerous can their offense be against really, really good teams? Because out of 30 teams, 32 teams, that you're not going to play a contender every night, and you're not going to play a playoff team every night. You're going to play some bad teams. And can you score 130 points on those teams? Yeah, sure you can. Is it a bad sign that you have to score 130 points to beat the Charlotte Hornets? Yes, it is. Right? Is it a bad sign that LaMelo Ball, look unstoppable against y'all? Yes, it is. They didn't even have their second best player in Miles Bridges. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. I'm going to tell you exactly why I think this season is going to be pretty much the same as last season. Right? We go parallel that, and then we'll go over what I think the real issue is, and we'll get a little bit in depth in that, and then we'll finish it up with Luka's MVP race and his MVP hopes, because it seemed like that's a goal for the Mavs and Mark Cuban as well as Luka. So they're going for it, and that's going to be problematic for the teammates that want to win. Right? That's not a priority for some people, but it seems like it's a priority for J Kidd because it's a priority for Mark Cuban, and it's definitely a priority for Luka. So we'll get into all of those things. But today's episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the best place to play fantasy sports. I want to tell you about the easiest way to get in on some NBA action with Underdog Fantasy and their pick'em game. Just find your favorite player, or any player for that matter, pick higher or lower on that player's stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in one night. Pick between 2 or 5 players to fill your pick'em entry. Get every pick right, and you can net yourself some serious cash. Use the promo code Man Down Sports, and you can get your deposit doubled up to $100. You got to check on the map to make sure your state is eligible to play Underdog Fantasy. But as soon as you do, and if your state is, go ahead and download Underdog Fantasy's app. Use the promo code Man Down Sports, and you can, like I said, you can get that $100 match on your first deposit. And I would want to thank Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring Man Down Sports. All right, so last year, when the Mavs started to struggle. As a matter of fact, as you can see from the graphic below on the lower third, if you want to parallel the first 14 games of last year and the first 14 games of this year, there are a lot of similarities, right? The first similarity is the records are almost identical, right? So after 14 games last year, the Mavs won 8 games, lost 6. After 14 games this year, the Mavs won 9 and lost 5. That's almost the same. That's just a difference between one loss and one win. So it's not a lot of difference there. They both had a 4-game win streak in between that. It was just in different spots. I think they started out the season this year with a 4-game win streak, so they got out to a high to start. Last year there was a little bit win loss, and then they hit a 4-game win streak. Some toward the end of that 14 games, and then they started to go win loss, and then they hit a 4-game lose streak, and then by the time they was at 20 games, they was at 500, 10-10. There's going to be a lot of similarities this year with that, because the same problem exists. The Mavericks felt like that Luka Doncic was the one constant with the team, and the way that they played was the one constant. They wanted the ball in Luka's hand. They wanted him to be the point guard. They wanted him also to be the primary distributor. They wanted him also to be the primary scorer. So he's taking every role primarily and doing it exclusively that's important on offense, right? I've always said that's not the best way if you want to win. You're going to waste the talent that you have if you play that way. And the issue with playing that way is when you have one guy responsible for so many things on offense, you almost have to have a team that needs that. Because look at it this way. If you took an all-star team, why don't all-star teams play where one guy has the ball and setting everybody up? Because everybody on the all-star team are usually really good players and usually the best players on that team, if not the second best player on that team. These guys usually can get their own shot. These guys don't need someone to set them up, and they don't want someone to set them up. Like it'll be extremely frustrating for someone as good as Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, D Wade, Carmelo Anthony, Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, Harden, any of these guys, Luka, any of these guys that are that good, Jason Tatum, however you want to say it, any wing player, specifically wing players that are that good and who can get their own shot and can score on almost 99% of the NBA, do not need another player to set them up for their points and their shots. So when you play the style that Luka and the Mavs are playing now, you can't really get a player like that to come and commit to that team, because for one, mentally they really don't want to do it, right? And for two, they don't need it to happen. So what excuse would you have to run a system to where one guy is setting everybody up, right? And the only thing you can do for the guy that you do get is his co-stars to say, okay, we'll split it. He can do it, and then sometimes you can do it. So it's your turn, my turn. Hey, so it's only, instead of one guy setting everybody up, it's two guys setting everybody up, right? So now so if you take Luka and Kyrie out of it, every other player that's on the team, you take their opportunity to do anything that they can do. Like in Porzingis' case, I can post up and get points. Well, not in this offense. Hey, I can take my man one-on-one because I have those skills. No, not in this offense, right? So the only thing that's left for a guy like Porzingis is catch and shoot threes, which you don't need a guy making $35 million a year just for catch and shoot threes when you can just have Maxi Kleber do it. So the issues with the Mavs roster is the offense that they play don't fit with really good players. Like, you have to have bad players or average players to play in that offense, because number one, they don't mind doing it, and number two, they need it, right? So to fix the issues with the Mavs, you have to change that part and not run that offense. I hope that makes sense to a lot of people, because I've been trying to beat this nail in the wood for 3 years. I've been telling people the offense is the issue. The offense causes every problem that the Mavs have, right? And people think I'm singling out Luka. Well, I'm actually trying to help Luka out. Here's Kyrie Irving at a press conference after the trade. Everyone noticed that he was playing pretty good with the Mavs, but remember when he came to the Mavs, Luka was hurt, right? So Luka was injured and not playing when Kyrie showed up. So I think he got about 5 or 6 games where it was just him. And this is after a trade where they lost Dorian Finney-Smith in the trade. They lost Dinwiddie in the trade. And Dorian Finney was their best defender and most versatile defender. And Dinwiddie was their second scoring option behind Luka and was doing pretty good at that. So the Mavs lost both of those guys, gained Kyrie, and then on top of that, Luka was out too. So Kyrie had to play with the crew that was left without Luka. And he did pretty good. Everyone noticed it. They noticed the offense was totally different. They noticed the offense was more fluid, more equal opportunity, more ball movement, more player movement. So they asked Kyrie about that. I want you to pay attention to what he said.
There's been a lot of flow in the offense, using like zoom actions and horn sets early in games. How do you think those will be enhanced when Luka is in the lineup?
That's a great observation. I think our play calling is pretty easy to understand, pretty easy to execute. But when you have guys that can make different reads, I think you'll see a lot more options take place where we can see just some more creativity. Luka has the ball, I have the ball. I'm able to play off the ball, make some cuts, and just relieve the pressure of just having one primary ball handler. So all the plays will have multiple options because you got guys that can make decisions with the ball or without on that backside outside of Luka. So that'll be me. That'll be, I'm sure, Jaden Hardy. That'll be Josh, Timmy. We'll all have our opportunity to make some plays off our continuous action.
Man, he said a lot. So toward the end, he talked about how having multiple guys that can make plays is better than having one guy being the primary ball handler and making all the plays. And he said that'll be Luka, that'll be himself, that'll be Tim Hardaway, that'll be Jaden Hardy, that'll be Josh Green. 5 different guys, right? And when you look at a team who, because I think anything 30 assists or more is really good for a team. If you're getting 30 assists a game, that's really good for a team, right? This is what Golden State, San Antonio, when they was in there, even the Kings now, their entire team is making plays. I think I looked at the box sheet last night when the Kings beat the Dallas Mavericks, and I want to say Sabonis, they have bigs that are making plays for them as well. So they got Sabonis, who had about 7 to 8 assists last night. Their point guard De'Aaron Fox had about 7 to 8 assists last night. I want to say Malik Monk had about 5 or 6 assists. Harrison, they had multiple people with at least 5 assists, not just 2, not just 3, but like 4 people with at least 5 assists. The offense was just so fluid. Anybody can make a play from the post, from the dribble penetration, or from back cuts. You get what I'm saying? Like it's so many things that are happening with that offense that's hard to guard. And then everyone's setting screens for each other as well, right? That's different than having one guy or 2 guys, because right now the Mavs have empowered Kyrie Irving. Okay, Kyrie, we'll give you an opportunity to do it too. We'll let you run Luka's offense, right? So it's either going to be Luka, high screen and roll, everything comes off of that, or Kyrie, high screen and roll, everything comes off of that. Everybody else catch and shoot. Be ready to catch and shoot. And what Kyrie was saying in that clip was he was like, he's letting you know when we play this way, we're harder to guard. Everyone can make a play, and we're more creative. And we're not relying on one specific person to make a play or 2. So he's always threw the things out there like that in the press conferences when they ask. He don't throw Luka under the bus, but I'm pretty sure he's talking to him behind closed doors and talking to Mark Cuban and talking to Jason Kidd. And I'm pretty sure it's a lot of people that's doing it as well, because it was reported last year that there were people like, Christian Wood, JaVale McGee, I think even Tim Hardaway was part of it when they was having team meetings, and they was expressing that they don't like playing in this offense. They don't like playing in the offense where it's just high screen and roll with Luka, and Luka gets all the assists, and all we do is catch and shoot because we have playmaking ability as well. So the more things change, the more things stay the same. You know, they're having the same issues here in Dallas. Not a lot is changing, and I don't know, man. I feel bad for the Dallas Mavericks fans because they was fooled by the fool's goal. They seen that number 2 rated offense and was like, "Hey, this is gonna work." We're at that point it was 4-0 at one point, then it was 6-1, and then the bottom fell out. You know, now you're seeing more of what they really are, and you can't come out here and expect to just outscore teams and then be at the bottom half of defense as far as allowed points and everything. Right, they're toward the bottom. That was 25th going into this into this week, and then they had that game against Milwaukee, that game against Toronto, this game against Sacramento. That's probably even gonna drop them below 25th. So, but in the team, when you look at the teams that's down there, 25th and below, they're not playoff teams. You know, so your defense is not going to help you, and it's reasons why your defense look like that, which I get into, but just specifically on the deja vu effect and how it's just, you know, it's just similar. Nothing's going to change as long as Luka is your point guard and you're running high screen and roll offense, and you only have 1 or 2 people making plays for you. Nothing's going to change. Right, nothing is going to change. All of this is the same, right? Luka has, he keeps saying, "We just got to get better on defense. We just got to get better on defense." Like, that's their whole philosophy. We got to get better on defense because they think the offense is perfect. Oh man, we're scoring 130 points. They think the offense is perfect. Nothing is wrong with the offense. We don't have to fix it. Let's keep doing this. We just got to get better on defense, and that's what they think, and that's sad. That's sad. The offense is a problem. And I keep telling people that. But I get into it more when I get into the Mavs issue. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section about the deja vu effect, man. Do y'all think this is different than last year, or do y'all think it's the same?